How the Other Half Lives is a best selling novel written by photographer, reporter, and social reformer Jacob Riis. This book exposed the upper class citizens, especially government and health officials, to the unsanitary conditions in which lower class citizens were living in. The story of Jacob Riis began with his immigration from Denmark to the United States. He worked multiple jobs to try and support himself, yet experienced poverty and times of unemployment. After working in carpentry and various other jobs, Riis wrote editorials and submitted them to the New York Tribune. His articles were rejected multiple times before he finally got a position as the police reporter for the New York Tribune newspaper. His assignment was the Lower East Side of Manhattan, which was his first real exposure to the horrible conditions in which these immigrants were living in. With the recent and rather convenient invention of flash powder, the ability to take pictures in dark areas became useful in Riis's photography and his intentions. Riis used the new technology to take photos of some of the heart-wrenching circumstances families, specifically children, were living through. Such conditions included overcrowding, sweatshops and child labor, unsafe work conditions, lack of ventilation, and plumbing in homes. Poor water quality, filth, vermin, and compromised living conditions meant typhus and cholera outbreaks were common, as were high rates of child mortality and tuberculosis, as stated by the Library of Congress. Riis was constantly urging the wealthy to take action, as such outbreaks affect everyone, not just the poor. The emotional stories Riis included in his book gained attention and broke the hearts of those who've read it, inspiring many reforms. After publishing How the Other Half Lives, it received the attention of Theodore Roosevelt, who at the time was the New York governor. Roosevelt created a commission which advocated for new housing designs in an attempt to incorporate better ventilation, plumbing, fire safety, and access to air and light. Riis was also an advocate for funding playgrounds and parks in rundown areas, as it would provide breathing spaces in densely populated areas. Riis was an important figure in public health, as he not only created a new form of communicating public conditions, but he also was successful in prompting the first New York legislation to change tenement conditions. Without Riis, many more individuals would have suffered, as few were aware of the situation. This book became the predecessor for books similar to it, like The Jungle and The Grapes of Wrath, continuing to advocate for social reforms that will improve the health on a large scale.